What's up, everybody? John Henry, both sides of the conversation.
All races, all creeds, we don't care, man. We love the people, man. That's what we about.
Changing the narrative from the voices.
It's all about servicing the community.
This whole day has been plenty of information, a very joyous event.
Both sides of the conversation.
How's everybody doing? Good. I'm Starver Going. I'm a first-year fine arts major with a minor in African American studies. And today I'm proposing strategies that the whole Bay Area can use to further uplift the community and also curate the resources towards the Black community that we're able to garner through these strategies. So we know that art is incredibly versatile, which is what makes it a perfect tool to uplift the Bay and also the Black community. We see art in so many forms, and as innovative as the Bay Area is, I think that it would be a perfect niche to work within to uplift the community. And why I want to emphasize the Black community, we know that we are facing adversity and just in the midst of our fight against past and present oppression and adversity, so I think that it's vital that we are able to curate the resources towards communities that need it the most. And we've seen progress being made with the Reparations Committee, with the Dream Keepers Initiative, and as well as the Human Rights Commission, but I think the arts will be able to take it up a step further and help garner resources to attack economic, health, education, as well as the overall well-being of the Black community. So I want to give you guys a look back at the past to see how art has had a rich history in the Bay Area and has long served as a vessel for change. We see the Black arts movement, we see Emory Douglas, we see the whole community that is the Fillmore District, and we also see the several museums, including the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco. Starting with the Fillmore, known as the Harlem of the West, it was a huge, if not the hugest jazz scene in the 20th century, and it brought the likes of Ella Fitzgerald, as well as John Coltrane, a bunch of superstars in the jazz era that were able to also curate economic prosperity as well as serve as advocates and awareness in the niche of music. They were able to use their gifts in the Bay Area, and jazz, as well as the overall community of the Fillmore, was thriving at the time. We also have the Black arts movement, which was born in Harlem, but it took way in the East Bay and sprouted several markets and different businesses, a bunch of opportunities for community engagement within the arts, as well as we see groups and different artists on the rise, like the Black Arts Collective. And they were able to use their gifts in the arts to bring awareness to Black issues and advocate for themselves, as well as ensure the visual representation of the Black community. Because we know that things like urban renewal, not only did they cause damage in sectors of like education, economics, but also perpetuated the narrative that Black people were the reason that a lot of communities were run down, unkept, and unsafe. So the Black arts movement was able to showcase the humanity within the Black community and also serve as a means of advocacy as well. We also have Emory Douglas, who is such an influential example. He was a revolutionary artist of the Black Panther Party and contributed so much, but his art, it ensured the visual representation of the movement, and it also funded the Black Panther Party and the initiatives they started. So without his art, they would not have been as successful because they wouldn't have the capital to build the foundation for what they wanted to do. So Emory Douglas and his work alone made great strides for not just the party, but the whole Black community across the nation. And then lastly, in the past, we have the Fine Arts Museums. They were built and they since have provided great educational opportunities and great pipelines against grade schools to help get the exposure as well as the education and appreciation in the arts and overall foster a space for that appreciation, especially for the youth. The arts museums, from what I've seen, are huge on education, and that's also a big thing that we're going to look at the rest of this presentation. So if we look at the arts today, we see that it's thriving, and we see that there's a huge rise in not only artists, but opportunities. And it's also reported that there's over 5 million workers in the arts and cultural industries. So seeing that there's so many artists on the rise, that's just endless opportunity and resource that we can pull from to uplift the city. And as I want to just give you guys community insight, I was able to interview Rico Hamilton, and he's on the Reparations Committee for SF. And he had so many wonderful things to say, but I did want to highlight 2 of his quotes as far as community collaboration, as well as establishing and investing into the community. So as far as community collaboration, he said that some people might be really good at business in person, but they just don't have the idea. So it's important to see how we connect those two people together and see how we can feed off of each other and create something special. So this is important because one thing that I'm about to dive into is the importance of including education, especially within entrepreneurship. And he gets into this as well. He says that when you go to Chinatown, they have a jewelry store, the clothing store, the meat market. They have all these different things that actually contribute to not having to leave the community. You can get it from one place. The big goal is how do we create that within our community? I think entrepreneurship honestly is the key to that, because entrepreneurship is going to teach you how to build the foundation so you can actually pursue the passion and then create the impact. So I think it's important that we start implementing entrepreneurship into education and being able to teach people how they need to get together, because the logistics side and all the technical stuff, that's really important to be able to support the creative vision. So I think those are really important, and we're also going to touch on them throughout the rest of the presentation. So looking for what the arts can do for Black San Francisco, I want to take a look at education. As I just mentioned, we see that today San Francisco actually is the worst county for for Black student success and achievement. And you can see the different stats as far as ELA, math, reading. The proficiency is rather low, and I believe that art can help with this, because it's actually reported that the arts help improve the overall quality of learning, as well as give kids something that they can connect it to. Creative outlets are huge for being able to understand different logistic and technical concepts, so implementing art education can help with core education as well as give overall exposure. And we also see, looking back at the education piece, we see a lack of cultural diversity and opportunity. I want to take a look at something that I actually found really disheartening. Considering that the Fillmore was one of the biggest jazz sectors of the West Coast, to see that there's only one jazz band in the whole school district, and that as far as different ethnic creative classes like world dance, we only see 2 world dance classes in the whole district being Japanese, taiko dance, so not Black or Hispanic or anything very diverse. And even within that Japanese sector, they only have 2 classes amongst the whole district. So seeing a lack of cultural diversity within fine arts education, I think is a problem, and I also think that's what's holding kids back from being able to fully engage with their core education. So I also want to touch on architecture. We see throughout the city there's a bunch of different abandoned buildings and a bunch of rundown buildings. These are actually pictures I took going throughout the city. I wanted to go actually see for myself what shape the architecture was in. This building with the glass window broken is from the community college on Masonic, and then this is an abandoned spot in the Fillmore. I think that we can get local architects together to help contribute to beautifying these areas and also giving them opportunities to get exposure in their field. So I think that's just really important that we touch on architecture. Here's another visual piece I put together. I went around. These are both on the right, we have the community college on Masonic, and then on the left, the Fillmore. We see that the architecture is just not in great condition. It's very unkept, and I think being able to give the opportunity to architects to help fix that would be a great idea. We also see economic prosperity from the arts. I'm just going to read off of this because the numbers speak for themselves. The arts industry generated $1.7 billion in economic activity and supported almost 37,000 jobs. There's also huge payoffs with the investment that comes from SF and the overall government. We see that every $1 million spent on a nonprofit for arts organizations generates $17.5 million and supports 385 jobs. So we see that something is working and we're able to support people through the arts. So I think that these strategies will help us continue to do that. So these are my strategies, starting with number 1, hosting annual conventions to connect artists with community and also foster opportunity. I like to do this by also giving an opportunity for different organizations around the Bay to host, because that is great for them. It brings great business for whoever's hosting and gives them a chance for that experience. I also think that, for me, Stars Playhouse is a company I'm launching in 2024. That would be a great vessel for that, as well as the Booker T. Washington Center, the Arts and Culture Complex, and there's several of those around the city. Places like that would be perfect to host these conventions. It would be able to get artists together with the network of other artists, as well as the overall community, to foster job opportunities and different collaboration opportunities. And it's also another event for the community to look forward to. It's another something to put on the agenda. There's a ton of different arts events that are around the city, and I think that these conventions would be a great addition to that. Another one would be employing education programs and opportunities, as well as teaching art with entrepreneurship. I stressed education in the beginning of my presentation. I think it's super important. I think that we should get workshops and other engagement programs into these schools, as well as, like I said, Booker T. Washington Center, other centers like that. I think that those workshops would be a good way for kids to get exposure and also, like I said, learn about entrepreneurship and how that can be the foundation for their passion. And embedding creative entrepreneurship into actual school curriculum, not just extracurricular programs and things like that, but actually seeing how we can get it into the curriculum. That I think would be essential and I think would just be great for the youth. And my last proposal would be scouting young and local architects and artists to contribute to the SF construction and planning. Like I mentioned before, we see a lot of rundown and abandoned structures, so I think it would be a great opportunity for local architects to get the education and the exposure, as well as good for the city, and it gives the community a way to directly contribute to the change. It's not some third-party, gentrified, construction unit coming in and just working on a community that they know nothing about. It gives people that live in the community a chance to actually make an impact and give their visual input. So it'll breed innovation and opportunity, and I think it would be a great way to get people involved. So these suggestions, like I said, they allow artists to access resources and opportunities and succeed, as well as foster a stronger connection between artists and the community. And I think it would be a great way to fuel the arts and also fuel the city. These are my sources, and I also would like to leave you guys with these QR codes. On the left, we have the presentation itself, so you can go back and access it if you'd like to get more information. My sources are hyperlinked, so you'll be able to go and see where I'm getting this from, and that also serves as another pipeline to do your own research. You shouldn't take my word for it, you should do your own research and just see the numbers for yourself. As well as my contact information as I launch Stars Playhouse and get into the network and SF as far as arts and culture. I would like to provide myself as a resource, and I also would like to get connected with other resources and other people. So if you'd like to hear more about the presentation, if you'd like to hear more about me and the work that I do and plan to continue doing, my contact info is right there. And I believe that's the end of my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I think it starts with engagement. I think a big reason why the proficiency rates are really low is because kids are not fully engaged with what they're learning. And I think a big reason for that is because there's nothing for them to engage with. I think if we implemented more diverse curriculums and gave kids things that they'd actually be able to enjoy, not just for fun, like art, like painting, drawing, things like that, but go to art history, for example. We can put art history classes in schools that center different cultural backgrounds like African Americans, Hispanics, Asians. We can give them the art history and allow them to further connect with their roots through the arts and get that overall education, as well as being diverse in the kind of art we're able to teach. We see dance and theater mainly in the fine arts, but there's way more than that. There's, as I mentioned in the beginning, printmaking, architecture, different things like that, multimedia. There's so many different ways to express yourself through art. So I think that embedding more diverse curriculums and opportunities within school to get kids engaged, I think that would be one of the #1 answers for that. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Solid. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, you gorgeous people. My name is Micaiah Holloway. I'm an architecture major as well as an analytics minor, and I'm a freshman at University of San Francisco. And can you guys hear me good? Scream at you. I ain't want to be too loud. Thank you. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. My speech is focused around the Black community at USF. Specifically, it's Black students, both upper and lower classmen who live on and off of campus. In order to get a better insight into this community, I prompted 4 questions to several different students, and to specifically ask what it's like to be a Black student on our campus. And then I went back and video interviewed a few students. That is some of our problems. We do have one video to the 3rd question, so that's the one that I will be showing. The rest I will be discussing and reflecting with you guys. And that's what we'll be reviewing and reflecting today. The 4 questions I developed in their recorded responses. The first question I asked was, how has your definition of being or behaving Black changed since coming to our USF campus? Now this is where I will have the response or the video played. In the video, lots of students had many different responses. This is where responses started to really drift away from each other in the beginning because it was based in their own so different experiences as a Black person, not just a Black student. Through my next question, I began to reach further into the feeling of being a Black student and how that may relate to activism. So I asked, have you ever felt like you've had to act different or behave more Black to feel like the wokest Black person in the room? Yeah. In this response, many students said that they felt like they did. They felt like in a space where it's not many Black people, in an environment where there aren't really that many Black students or that many people representing you, you feel like you may have to step a little bit more up in your Blackness. You may feel like you're not as Black as the person sitting next to you with the afro or the stereotypical Black person and things like that. So you may want to put on the facade of, oh yeah, I'm a Black person in this district. And honestly, there was an overlap with a lot of my responses that a lot of students said, there isn't really that many of us. So we feel like we have to carry that a little bit on our shoulders a little more and represent it way more. The responses, as I said, they took their own route, but in itself, they were led back to each other. And the next question, I decided to get more direct into what it truly means to be a Black student, to them as well as how they may be affected by that. This is where the responses started to drift apart a little bit. I believe this is the one that I have a video for.
Having some disability, and that's causing us to have some mental, if not physical. And stress can be in your leg, it can be obvious or not obvious, but it's still a disability.
So throughout doing this project, me and my group came across 2 repetitive problems. One of the problems is that disabled individuals, especially those from marginalized communities, may often find trouble when trying to get employed or find a job. And for our kind of solution we came up with to help that problem is that there could be collaborations with local businesses and organizations to create inclusive hiring practices, and just to overall encourage the city to promote programs that support the disabled community with training and employment opportunities. Our second problem we came across was that disabled individuals may face disparities in the healthcare access and support services. So the solution for that is that we came up with that we could advocate for increased funding and resources for healthcare programs that specifically address the needs of disabled individuals with a focus on the Black community itself.
This next clip will show what the people who we interviewed, what they want as solutions for this issue.
I would also like, though, since we are almost in walking distance of USF, that you ask Dr. Davis to host a community-wide meeting to not only present to us as a community what you have found, but to also bring the mayor to that, so that there is that community meeting that she has suggested, and we do it right here at USF, part of your program.
And that is the end of our presentation. Thank you all so much for listening.
Are there any questions?
thank you for letting us know that. I'm sure us as a group would love to contact you further and get in touch about how to move forward.
I'd be very happy to connect you with the people who are getting that started right now. So I brought some cards. I'll make sure I hand them over. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other questions?
It's more of a comment or like a connection that you can make. I know, and I really love that you talk about education and the health aspect within the Black community on disabilities. Our Talking Books and Braille Center, or TBBC, they host, and they just started doing this, for Black and brown people that are blind, because blindness runs within the Black community, and then so what the library is doing is we're educating them on their food, you know, hypertension, things like that that lead to blindness, because they're not born blind. It's more of like something, a disability that comes later. And so that's something too, if you wanted to check in with our services here, I'd put you in touch with that.
Thank you.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? No? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get ready to start with the first set of presentations. I want to thank our friends from the library and the Art Commission and folks for being here. Give it up for them for being here. Just by way of background, these students are from the University of San Francisco. They live in the same dorm, on the same floor. They take a class together on Monday and Wednesdays, and they are preparing for their trip to the South to visit Civil Rights Museum spots across the southern places of America. And so they are presenting now. They were working on a project which will actually be continuing into the new year, where they'll continue to build on it and try and work on those things. But there are 5 projects that'll be presented, 3 groups, 2 individuals, and really wanted them to be able to get feedback from folks who are doing work. One of them is specifically in the arts. A lot of them will touch the arts, and then a lot of it is, I think, very connected to the work that the library does in terms of how are you making yourself accessible to diverse groups of people, how are you supporting folks with different abilities, and how are you supporting people with different interests, how are we making sure to be very intentional about the work. And so I just thought the library and the Arts Commission would be really great folks to hear. So first and foremost, I do want to thank the library for opening up our space, and I always mess this up, our chief librarian, our head librarian, what is it called? What's the formal?
That works for me, it's city librarian.
City librarian, okay, well I want to make you the chief of something, Michael. So Michael Lambert, do you want to say anything, Michael?
Oh, thank you. It's really an honor to host all of you here this evening for these presentations. The team and I are really looking forward to seeing you shine.
Thank you. So Michael works in the library and, you know, is a true example of like being committed to the work and being here, and has brought such energy. I just saw something, a news article or something about the library and the work that you're doing. So I just want to thank you for your allyship, your partnership, and just your commitment to the work. And I know, yeah, and I see Michelle and all the other folks, and Marcel and all the field folks. So just really appreciative to the library. They've been great friends over the years. So first group, you ready? Is it going to be good? Yeah. Make sure to introduce yourselves. And they're all freshmen, so.
Alright, I guess I'll start us off for introductions. First off, again, good evening and thank you all for being here. My name is Harrison Combs. I'm a computer science major, and again, I'm a freshman at USF.
My name is Des Russell. I'm a second year, and I'm a biology major.
Hi everyone, my name is Armani Baptiste. I'm a psychology major, and I'm also a second year.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I'm a fine arts major, and I'm a first year as well.
Hi, my name is Alma Frazier, and I'm also a first-year public health major. We also have one more person in our group who actually helped format our zine. Her name is Jaden, but she is leaving class and hasn't made it here just yet, but she should pop in at some point during our presentation.
We will make her talk after that, I promise. We won't do that soon. All right, well, I'll start us off. Again, thank you all for being here. We are Shadow Thoughts. We are going to be showing you a zine that is going to document sort of the vision for our upcoming series of 3 episodes in a podcast format. And again, thank you all so much for being here and give us your feedback. With that being said,
So basically we're presenting on Shadow Thoughts, which would be a podcast that we're looking to put together. And so what we did was we went to the African American Art and Culture Complex, which offers like numerous types of resources to the Black community. So like they have like dance studios, and like we've seen that they had these really big murals and like paintings on the walls that were really, really nice. And they had brought in, or they commissioned Black artists to do them. So that's just like another way that they kind of provide a resource for like people to come and show their talent. And so what we were primarily interested in was the recording studio, which would be where we would be looking to record and bring in people to talk to. So yeah, this would be the first episode.
all right, and again, our first episode, actually I want to take you guys into a little bit of our mindset going into this. We wanted to present questions that, again, were very firm and were very broad because we weren't afraid of that broadness and that variety. We want these conversations to have a lot of room to grow and sort of spread out and take any which avenue that they want to. So we're not necessarily trying to make a specific agenda to get these conversations out. We simply want this topic to be talked on and discovered and understood on a deeper level. With that being said, our first topic, maybe one of the broadest we could have chosen, was what it means to be Black. And this means so much for so many people. So the fact that we're even able to speak on this is a great privilege. And we really just want to honor sort of what that meant, what the name Black meant in the past, present, and the future. How people have taken that moniker on to mean themselves and how they define themselves over time. With our next episode, episode 2, we're actually covering a similar topic, Black iconography. Now, once we know what it means to be Black, how do we necessarily represent ourselves? We have images in our head already. I know all of you do. We have the afro, the fist. We have members of the Black Panther Party cropping up. We have Martin Luther King. We have Malcolm X. These symbols of Blackness mean a lot to us, but why? This is going to be one of the main things we're going to be talking about in our second episode.
Our final episode would be entitled Sins of the Father, and this episode mostly focuses on generational trauma and the mental health aspect of being Black. And I specifically talked to our resident CAPS counselor, Dr. J, and in our conversation as like a precursor to when we do the actual interview, we discussed many topics from how social media is used to whether that is able to help or to the detriment of mental health, and how that could be shaped in the form of therapy and how she uses it herself to further their goals of their therapy sessions. Like we talked about curating social media, and we talk about how the culture in different Black families, while different, some places they're still the same, in which they want to gather around each other and there's always like a focal point, and how she uses the knowledge of the Black family to curate her therapy in relation to each patient she has. And so that final episode will focus on this mental health aspect and how we can further diminish the stigma around mental health, and how we can work to better the lives of all of us in general.
And with this episode in general, I know it specifically appeals to the youth, because I know when you guys came here, your main thought and you think of the Black community is, how do we feel inside? How do I feel inside? How am I getting through our college experiences, things like that. And as a psychology major, this has been something very near and dear to me. With someone who has lots of mental illnesses in the family, it's a really big, important issue for us to talk about things like this. And I know there's other people that go out of their way to talk like this. But if there's more avenues like us to keep talking about this issue, eventually we will get to the bottom of it.
And then for episode 1, just to reiterate what Harrison said, the Black experience is different from everybody. You go through struggles, adversities, achievements, everything. But the one common denominator that we all have is that we're Black, and it brings us together.
Thank you so much. I love questions. Any questions?
Yes,
I
definitely.
love questions.
Any questions?
Any at all. Ask me one. I really want a question.
The intention is to for the zine to match the episodes that you do, and then would you add to the zine after this?
If we are debating whether or not we wanted to continue and add more episodes to our podcast, we either add pictures from our podcast that we shot, either action footage, or if there's a way that we can incorporate an actual video clip of the podcast itself into our zine. We're definitely looking forward to either adding onto the episodes or adding onto the pages themselves.
And then I guess my question is the library. Is there
The mix.
The mix.
Yes, of course. So I would invite you to come back to the main library. We have the African American Center on the 3rd floor. And I'd love for you to meet our manager, Sean Sherman, and introduce you to more of the staff here, because there's nothing more that we would like to do than to help you showcase your work and get you connected to our network of library staff that can help you achieve your goals.
Thank you so much. We would love that. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Right there.
So do you have kind of a format that you wanted your podcast to be? If you already decided kind of it's going to be broken down into different segments?
That is such a great question. I'm so glad you asked. That's exactly what we thought through. And so I think it was most stressed, again, episode 1, past, present, and future. This was very specific to the vision of the podcasts because it just seemed to be the most natural way to form a conversation. We look at the past, what that meant for the people at a time period, what is happening in our current space, and how we can now move forward into the future with no regrets. And I think that might be the most powerful way to structure a podcast. And so this will be a test, and that will be what we see in this next couple runs of episodes. Again, if anybody had a question about the timing in regards to this, we're looking to start this right around January, February. We'll be wrapping up right around Black History Month, so that'll be a great little tidbit, a little milestone to hit. And again, we actually have our last member back with us. She made this wonderful zine for us. Our heart enjoys, we love it.
Okay, my name is Jaden, and I am a soon, second-year student, so thank you guys for having me.
Do we have another question?
That was my question around the timing of the podcast. Thank you.
Ready?
Hi, Lex Leica from San Francisco Arts Commission. I just enjoyed hearing about it, and there's so much to take in. I might have missed it at the beginning, but when you think about who's your core audience who's going to listen to this, do you really have that one or three people who you're going to reach out to listen to who you're creating this for?
So I would say that our main audience, our primary audience, would simply be the Black youth, but again, the greater population. And it actually kind of clues into something more detailed about this podcast that isn't mentioned up on our zine. We actually plan to have many guest speakers along the ride with us. So in addition to us, as part of the podcast, we will have some talented and well-knowledge guest speakers, so professionals, a lot of professors actually from USF, and that will give us a sort of dichotomy between what is experienced and the new, and the ideal and what's practical. And that will be another theme that we sort of speak on throughout the series, and especially if it continues to grow. We'll have no shortness of guest speakers, and it will be great. But thank you so much for asking.
And I feel just to add on to that, I feel like the primary audience we cater toward is, like you said, younger people. And I would show this to like a lot of my friends back home, especially when we're talking about things like Black iconography and like mental health. That's something that can apply to like a broad spectrum of people. And I feel like back home especially, there are a lot of people in my personal life, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is an activist, this is someone who like should be put up on a pedestal, but we're really looking into why they aren't and like what differentiates the MLKs from everyone else. Like even in the way I can say that, you know exactly what I mean, and that's what we're talking about. So. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in your episode 3 around trauma. The number of faith leaders I work with are trying to do a lot to change the narrative around trauma and how it's addressed in current communities. I'd like to hear more about your proposed format for this particular episode, and what will you do to bring forward some of the possible solutions to this issue in current communities?
Great question, thank you so much. So again, episode 3 is no stranger in this trilogy. It will still follow the past, present, future archetype. And what that means is, it's titled Sins of the Father. In a way, it's a bit of a little reference, of course, but it really is harkening back to the fact that what it means to be Black and that specific form of oppression wasn't something that could have been predicted or halted by any force, and that everybody in this room right now suffers because of it. So with that being said, there's an element of separation with the past in the sense that it could not have been changed, but that's all right because we have so much more future. And so it will just have a general feeling of optimism throughout the whole work. In terms of the work that we're doing in the background, we're trying to get the best guest speakers that we possibly can. We're actually trying to have a psychologist from USF on board, and that would be a great, great addition. But we're doing our own research behind the scenes as well. And so I hope that when this episode does come out, it shows and we can sort of flex the knowledge that we've learned over the next couple months.
And adding on to that, one of the primary ways we are seeking to make change with our podcast is just getting it out to as many people as possible, because I feel like starting the conversations can help continue it, and if no one's there to start it, then there's nothing to talk about. So I feel like bringing it up is one of the most important things we can do. Any more questions?
Well, to that end, how are you marketing? How will you get it out there to other university students in the city? There are a lot of schools here in the Bay Area more broadly. What are your plans? What are your strategies for marketing?
Great question. Thank you again. For our marketing strategies, it's a good question because it's something that could be considered a bit of a weakness in our approach. We haven't thought as much about the marketing side of things, which is kind of strange for a podcast. In that way, we almost trust that our voice and our message will reach the right people. But of course, that's not a solid business plan. And we're actually filming at the African American Cultural Center, so we would love to do more events with them in the future, and we're using their space, so we'll make sure to mention them and sort of laud what they're doing. The entire building is one big museum, and I mean the entire building. It's an amazing place to be. It's an amazing place for Blackness and for Black joy. With that being said, that will be our primary sort of home base. Again, we're all students at University of San Francisco, excuse me. So that would be another way of us getting the word out. It isn't a huge campus, but it has a great, great community behind it. And I have no doubt that we're going to get the right amount of people behind us, listening and tuning into every episode.
All right, give it up to the
I was just gonna add something onto the marketing.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I was gonna say that since we are students living in the generation that we live in right now, social media plays a big part in marketing. So, I mean, we could kind of just use that to our advantage, any social media platform that we have. And given that we're SF students, we know other SF students that go to different schools out here, so we could talk to them. They can put it on their social media. So I would say that YouTube, Instagram, basically anything you can get it on, which right now is a lot of things, would be the best way that we can market as of this moment.
Hi everyone, my name is Layla Barron. I am a first year here at USF and I am a kinesiology major.
Hi, my name is Priscilla Moriefe. I'm a first year and I'm a politics major.
Hi, my name is Jada Beasley. I'm a first year and I'm an English major.
Hi, my name is Tenchi. I am an environmental studies major and I'm a freshman.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I am a freshman here at the University of San Francisco and I am a nursing major.
Hello everybody, my name is Chibike Cameron and I am a second year computer science student at the University of San Francisco.
Hello, my name is Danae Jones and I am a business student at the University of San Francisco and I am a first year.
My name is Bertie Chiamba and I'm a first year media studies major at USF.
Hello, my name is Caroline. I'm also a first year student and I'm an international studies major.
Hi, my name is Leonardo Jubedes. I am a freshman and I am a media studies major.
Hello everyone, my name is Ella. I'm a psychology major and I'm also a first year.
Before we start, I'd like to give a thank you to everybody for lending us a brief moment of your time to showcase our presentation on the disabled Black experience in San Francisco. I'd also like to give a thank you to my team members for the work that they put in over the course of this project, as well as the participants in the surveys and interviews that we hosted to conduct feedback. Moving into our project, our group's objective was to provide a detailed look into the nuanced perspective and the hardships that are faced by disabled Black Americans in the city of San Francisco and what we could do to provide them help. While acknowledging the intersectionality in these identities, it's important to acknowledge the difference between them and extend beyond just recognition of this identity and to avoid overlooking them in the future of policy passing. So central to our initiative is to focus on amplifying awareness on the hardships faced by these individuals, as well as provide them a voice to express concerns that they have in their daily lives, and lastly, to lay the foundation for change to come forward in the future.
All right, next we're talking about the community. So disability can impact individuals indiscriminately, affecting anyone at any point within their lives due to genetic factors, illness, or accidents. The San Francisco Human Services Agency notes that 1 in 10 residents in the city reports living with a disability, with 112,295 of them being seniors aged 65 years or older. Seniors are particularly vulnerable to disability and many face challenges in accessing the necessary care and support systems. Diving deeper into the intersectionality of this issue, Black and African American individuals constitute 37% of unhoused population, despite making up only 6% of the total city population of San Francisco. It is also said that census reports reveal a consistent decline in the city's Black population since the 1970s, with the remaining population primarily concentrated in both the Fillmore District and Bayview Hunters Point.
Alright, so one of the biggest challenges that we had to overcome while doing our project was the fact that there's a general lack of information regarding this population. And we found this honestly quite sad, because they make up such a large part of us and such an essential aspect of the San Francisco community, yet we lack the accurate information regarding this community. And what we found is that because we lack information regarding the Black disabled experience in San Francisco, thereby we're unable to actually understand what they go through and thereby help them. And one of the reasons we found this occurs is because of the lack of education. As all of us in this room know, education is critical to our success and our prosperity as mankind. And without it, as we can see, we don't have accurate representation, ample opportunities, and the access to resources.
When considering accessibility, I did gain testimony last Wednesday from a woman who chose to remain anonymous. And she stated that when she was heading to an event at City Hall, she was unable to bring her wheelchair due to the lack of accessibility with the wheelchair ramp being broken. Also, a lack of accessibility for if this continues to happen, there will not be opportunities for the disabled community to go and voice their opinions at City Hall meetings, as well as meetings within their community, and they can face challenges getting to appointments such as medical, mental, or just any appointments that they need to access.
There was a census report study that was done for the top 10 causes of death, and when it came to the mortality rates amongst the racial population in San Francisco, the Black population had the highest mortality rates for 9 out of 10 top causes for death, and that ties into the fact that there are persistent inequalities and inequities in the healthcare system. For instance, like the cost of insurance in itself is expensive. We can thank inflation for that. There's also a gap present in the amount of care that insurance covers amongst the population. And when it comes to the Black disabled population, they are at a loss when it comes to the ability to pay out of pocket for the needed treatment and therapy. There's limitations in the amount of care that's covered by insurance, and they end up being trapped in thousands, and they end up being trapped with debts of thousands. Depending on where they are in terms of like location, accessibility may also not be there.
This next clip will describe what Caroline was talking about the lack of education in Black youth and disabled.
We went into the Black community. We went through Booker T, which is one of the program here in San Francisco that allows for the Black disabled people to come and get resources that they need, but it also houses other opportunities for the youth as well as the homeless. But what we ended up having the opportunity to do is interview numerous people that are members of the Black disabled community and get real life and in-person testimonies regarding the challenges that they were facing on an everyday basis in San Francisco. And essentially why we wanted to do this was because it allowed us to show our audience more tangible evidence of what's going on, because we believe that showing statistics on a page isn't going to do enough. You actually need to see and hear the actual experiences for members of this community. So we were able to interview various members at Booker T, and we thought this was a lovely initiative, and we got to know a lot of these people on a personal level and develop really interpersonal connections with them. And we hope is that after you've watched these videos, you will have the opportunity to do the same and get more information regarding what it's really like to be Black and disabled in San Francisco. And I apologize for the technical difficulties. We all know how challenging it can be, but thank you for sitting and waiting with us. So hopefully it works. If not, we can always take questions in the time being. All right, why don't we take questions while we wait for this to come up? So does anyone have any questions that they have at this point in time, or any inquiries regarding what we're doing or what you guys want to see us do in the future? No questions is okay too, but I encourage it. Hi.
I would say, can you speak more about your experience on how you guys conducted the interviews, like how you felt about going into that situation?
Yeah, does anyone want to do that?
So at first, when we went out there and like kind of like asked them about it, they kind of were like hesitant, because for them usually like when someone asked about like, oh, because when we went out there, the first time we asked, we were like, oh, is anyone would like to volunteer for this project that we're doing to like, you know, talk about the struggles you face as someone disabled in the SF, and they kind of like hesitated because in society, like being disabled is kind of seen like as a problem, and some of them did see it that way. They're like, oh, we're not disabled, and then like source of stuff like that. And then the second time we came around, that's when like they kind of opened up and were willing to like go forth with it. And it kind of, for me, it kind of made me feel sad in a way, because like, I don't know, like society has made it seem like that them being disabled is a terrible thing, and that kind of broke my heart, because it's like, how can we help you if you know you see yourself as like less than a human, you know, kind of the way. So yeah.
Okay, so this video will show the educational differences within the Black community.
And it's really going on now, even in the school system. When a Black kid shows up, they want to stick them in some kind of remedial class and all of that, and don't support them and help them. So I think.
Okay, so a very big issue for the disabled, especially the Black disabled population, is the fiscal responsibilities that they have to cater to their disability as well as live in a very high profit area. There's a very big wage gap in San Francisco that malaffects many of the disabled population. And the average income for a Black family in San Francisco is $31,000 to their white counterparts, which is $76,000. So I think that with this amount, we can obviously see the economic problems that they have to overcome just to be able to get to resources, as well as physical and mental therapy that they need. Also, coming to advocate for themselves is incredibly difficult because of this disability not being incredibly cared for, and the economic issues have touched most of this population and have been talked about previously in many interviews we conducted.
So going along with what Jada said, the issue of homelessness among the Black population in San Francisco goes far beyond just economic issues. The enduring legacy of slavery in the United States, along with ongoing oppressive systems, has fostered an in-hospital living situation for numerous individuals in the Black community, especially those with disabilities. Even after more than 5 decades of condemning racial segregation in education, numerous neighborhoods in San Francisco continue to grapple with this issue. Despite the overall diversity present throughout the Bay Area, only a limited number of neighborhoods actually represent this inclusivity. The predominant factor contributing to this disparity is the escalating cost of housing. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, the median home value surged by 32% from March of 2020 to June of 2022. And of the 11.4% of the population that lives in poverty, 33% of those individuals identify as Black. This clip will show one of the elders we interviewed and her thoughts about the current housing crisis in San Francisco.
I want to know why we as Black San Franciscans are only 5% of the population and 40% of the homeless. I want to know why there's so many inequities here and where are our resources. We suffer from chronic homelessness. Yeah, where are our resources? That's what we want to know. Where are our housing resources? Where can we go when we need housing? You know?
And acknowledging that this is
want to know why
acknowledging that this is such a big issue for the Black disabled community in San Francisco, we do want to pay tribute to some progress that's being made surrounding this issue. So one of the main organizations assisting with this is the Dream Keepers Initiative of San Francisco. And the DKI first launched in 2021, and it was made to address and remedy racially disparate policies within San Francisco, uplifting the Black community through socioeconomic investments and developments. The next clip will show an elder we interviewed at the Booker T. Washington Community Center. Her name is Barbara Cohen, and she's just sharing her gratitude towards what the Dream Keepers Initiative has done so far.
Well, first of all, I publicly acknowledge what Cheryl Davis has done as the Director of the Human Rights Commission and as the Director of the Dream Keepers Initiative, which is in part funding some of why we are here playing Negro right now. So I would like, and she is supported by the mayor. And so though there are opinions about the mayor has certainly supported the Dream Keepers, and it was the mayor who was able to get money taken from the police department, which is what funds the Dream Keepers Initiative. And so we acknowledge with gratitude what the mayor has done and the
So with the information that we've gathered from the Dreamkeepers City Hall Forum, we came to conclude that with increased funding for the senior home rehabilitation, we can attack the issues that over 60% of the disabled community struggles with. And on top of this, African American students with disabilities are more likely to endure poverty, more likely to have issues when it comes to accessing resources that affects with their disability, and more likely to experience substance abuse as well.
So when defining what a disability is, the CDC describes it as any condition that affects either mentally or physically the way one performs certain tasks or interacts with their surroundings.
Okay, so currently, there are many in the Black community who suffer from generational trauma, which has been caused by severe and harsh conditions that they have been placed upon. As a result of that, they have gained, or I guess have many mental and physical disabilities. And although this is a present issue in the city, they lack a lot of resources and to really, survive and thrive in this city. And this next video really illustrates that point.
Mental or emotional disabilities that are obvious, that people see themselves as having. I'm saying, I believe, given the fact that most of us, I think, if not all of us in this room, have a heritage that goes back to slavery. There's documentation from professionals that says all of us who are descendants of slaves suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. So all of us, though we may not have physical disabilities that are seen, we might have mental and emotional disabilities. And therefore, from my time in San Francisco, and I came from Louisiana at 24 so years old, and I've been here since 1969, so I have spent a long time in this city. And in this city, we suffer from
So basically what I'm saying in this clip, because I told one of my friends to interview me as well and thought that I should be in it a little bit, is that coming to this school made me and a lot of students realize that it does not take you to be the most fist up, afro wearing, rocking a style, rocking the J's type of Black person for you to feel more or less Black. It's just really where you come from. And a lot of Black students realize that it come in an environment where there's not that many of us, just because you're forced to self-reflect way more. Sorry, I don't want to fight with it no more. We can go back to the slides.
Race and things like that, I feel like it's different.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm not, I already know that I'm not the oldest person in the room, so I'm not going to try to be, because then I'm just doing something stupid. You Black? I don't know if you Black or Black. Okay. It's a joke, but you see, when I come here and I'm being told the same thing, it's like, oh shit, that's best.
Yes.
It's like, oh damn, maybe it really is.
I don't feel like that someone should be declared woke or unwoke based on knowledge that they have if they've never had the opportunity to explore any information outside of that. So I just get blunt in the room, and I have my own ignorances, so does everybody else.
I think that's one of the videos. Yeah, you're fine. Thank you so much. So sorry. This is where the responses began to drift toward each other in similarity. So sorry. Many students agreed that there are perks to being a Black student on our campus. Our amazing community, our staff, our programs, etc. But on the other hand, the lack of support in other areas proved to be evident. And the feeling that sometimes we're just here to check off a box of diversity is prevalent, as well as the difference between being a Black student or just being a student at our USF campus. So I asked, do you think it's important to separate what it means to be a Black student versus just being a student on campus? In the video, there's a lot of blank word yes, or oh yeah, da, 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 you know? And this is where everyone, for whatever personal reason, came to the same conclusion. Being a Black student is important to acknowledge. Acknowledging this is detrimental to the livelihood and the success of a Black student, not just at USF, but SF State, Hampton, any place where a Black student needs to thrive. We all know that if someone teaching us or someone in our environment, if a staff or whatever doesn't acknowledge that we're a Black student as well as a college student, then it's harder for us at times to move forward. If you don't see yourself represented in the world as better, how will you know that you can do better? How will you know that you can be better? Not everyone has that authentic, original sense to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna be better regardless of how everyone around me is. No, it's very important, and like I said, it's very detrimental that we have that representation and that we have that acknowledgement. Before starting this project, I expected to find a drastic problem in desperate need of an immediate solution. But luckily, I instead made an observation with the simple need of being brought to light and acknowledged. Through these 4 simple questions, I learned that as Black students on our USF campus, we face some of the same disparities and issues. While it's just students, we face completely different problems on our own days, on our own, period. So because of this, we have to be there for each other, to talk, to listen, and to build a future where the need for questions like these is less prevalent. Thank you for listening. Now, I know there are a lot of technical difficulties with my presentation, so I'm so sorry. But are there any questions? So I came up with a few of those questions with a lot of students, a lot of people that were like, oh, these are things that we should think about, these are things we should ask. I came up with a lot of questions at first and narrowed them down. And I chose these specific questions to honestly kind of guide the conversation and to see how similar or different a lot of Black students are, a lot of us as students are. And I wanted to specifically highlight that we're not different. And I didn't want to ask any question that's too broad or too hard. I wanted it to be kind of the interviews where it's made it, as long as they made it, you know? Where they can give a nod and answer the question with no problem, or give a paragraph and answer it in 10 minutes. So I wanted it to be an easier interview for the students.
I know we are over last time a little bit, so I want to make sure we get the last one through and maybe folks can.
Thank you so much.
A love Hello. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alana Carpenter. We are all first-year students at the University of San Francisco, and I'm a biology major.
My name is Olivia Manor, and I'm a freshman, and I'm an English major.
My name is Brooklyn. I'm a biochemistry major, and my minors are fine arts and music.
Hi, my name is Cayman Dorns, and I'm a first year, and I'm majoring in marketing.
Hello everyone, my name is Bronny Santana, and I'm a computer science major, first year.
Hello everyone, I am Jade. I'm a first year and a computer science major.
Hello everyone, my name is Monty Speller, and actually officially today I'm now a fine arts major and a film studies minor.
Oh yeah, so this is the Fillmore Jazz playlist on Spotify, actually. So, our project is Fillmore. We're talking about, or the Fillmore District, sorry. We're working on restoring the Black community. So a quick look at what you're going to get today. We're going through the past, present, and future. Obviously, in the past, it was a very vibrant Black community with thousands of people that living there. Okay, sorry, living there. And now not so much, but it is in the hands of the people to be restored, and that's what we're working towards today, to highlight the efforts being done to restore the Black community and what we can do as community members of SF to restore that community. So when you're thinking of the Fillmore in the past, 3 words that you might use to describe it are flourishing, fruitful, and foundational. It was known as the Harlem of the West, a thriving Black community full of jazz and culture. Everywhere that you looked, you could see a community of Black people sharing their culture, their food, their soul, and everything that they were doing. And
now, in the present, I think we would more describe the Fillmore as faded, fragmented, and also flawed. So, we have these 2 things here, the Miyako, the old-fashioned ice cream shop, which is kind of a lasting hope for the Fillmore that I can come back to the way it was. And then we also have Yoshi's, which is a restaurant that is no longer here in San Francisco in the Fillmore, but it is in Oakland. Miyako, do not let the name fool you. It is a Black-owned business by Tom Bennett. He is 83 years old, and he started here in 1993. This is actually a direct quote from him in one of his interviews. He said that the big building where Yoshi's used to be, that whole block was nothing but an empty lot that people used to use to throw their garbage and old mattresses in that space. His company has been here for a long while. It's been there for 30 years in the Fillmore District, which is a very long time and is very special because it's one of the last Black-owned businesses still in the Fillmore, which is miraculous when we look back at the Yoshi's. This area has been put up and put down with business that usually only last around 6 to 7 months, and all of them usually go out of business, and it's known as the multi-million-dollar blight because it's a reminder of the city's inability to steward Black social and political life in San Francisco. It was replaced with the Heritage Center, which is moving to put more things into place and bring back like the Black flourishing community. But it was instilled in 2007, and it was left vacant for a long while after that.
So our project is to know what the Fillmore District once was and know that there was a great foundational Black community there where everyone had a place and felt that they could share not only who they were, but their culture. And to restore that community of what it once was, there's obviously was a great shift in the economic status of the Fillmore once the urban renewal of San Francisco took place to push out the strong Black community. As it is now, we're hoping to just educate not only the youth, but everyone that lives in San Francisco on what the Fillmore once was in order to get it back to what it was, because if you don't know, you can't fix it. So, as far as our plan, we hoped to investigate and then spread the word. We kind of got caught up in our investigation phase It was very easy to get caught up in the rich history that the Fillmore had to provide. With every new article that we're reading, we're learning about a new business and a new people that we might need to talk to, and just further our understanding of what the community was and how it can be restored. So as we are now, we're still in the investigation phase. We're open to any and all resources to truly understand the foundation and businesses that were here in the Fillmore prior to the urban renewal, and then to spread the word and really get the community back to where it once was.
The number one problem that was highlighted by the community was housing and the fact that there is not access to it anymore. The Fillmore at one point was a vibrant community of not just Black people, but lots of people because they were open to immigration and, low income. And then they broke down this vibrant community in 1949 when the Housing Act was signed. And this was just them demolishing all of Fillmore for, I think, Geary to cut it in half and make it a town of like attractions, stuff like that. It was an entertainment town. But now, in the future, we are trying to bring back this community. Things are still not set in stone. Like we said, there's lots of businesses and people trying to bring back the community, but it is still being debated upon. It's still in these stages, as you saw earlier, that architecture is still not looking too good. So we really have to come together as a community to agree on not just housing, but what we can do for the community.
So to deep dive into the Fillmore Heritage Center, as this was pre-mentioned, this building was built in 2007, and it used to house Yoshi's, which is or was a very live and just very cultural jazz center in the Fillmore. So sadly, in the wake of mass displacement in the 1950s and 60s, this is the reason as to why the Fillmore Heritage Center has become that. The property sadly has been largely vacant since 2018, and what was also mentioned before, it is now sort of coined as the neighborhood's multi-million-dollar blight. And while this is a major and jarring statement, it's an easy assumption to make as an outside view looking in, because we as well had no ideas of the foundations or the foundational support and efforts going into the Fillmore Heritage Center. So on November 12th, a couple of us sat in on a community meeting that was surrounded about the Fillmore and the Heritage Center specifically, and we learned that, quote, the new goal is to transform the space into a premier destination restaurant of the African diaspora, programming a diverse range of musical acts, food hall, commercial kitchen, a visual art gallery focused on the African diaspora, along with a space for meetings, corporate events, film festivals, and neighborhood events. And this is a quote from the MOHCD, which is the Mayor's Office of Cultural Development. So as can be seen through our research, this project is going to take a lot longer than many people in the community hope for and are expecting. However, we think that if it is done right, it can be a very good foundational piece into moving the Fillmore forward back to where it once was, as well as just the overall restoration of the community.
All right, so in response to restoring the Fillmore, the city worked to provide an organization called In the Black. The vision that drove In the Black is rooted in addressing economic challenges faced by Black entrepreneurs, such as high commercial rent prices, limited access to credit, are formidable obstacles, and not going to lie, it's making it difficult for Black entrepreneurs to establish these brick and mortar businesses. In the spirit of unity, In the Black provides a platform for these entrepreneurs not only to survive but to thrive. And before we dive into the aspects of In the Black, let's take a moment to give a thank you for Amani and incorporating the essence of this space. So diving into this, Pia Harris is the founder of the space and the program director of the San Francisco Housing Development Corporation. In the Black is a Black-led marketplace with 20 different businesses in this space that ranges from clothing to hair care and skin care. And like I previously said, Harris's goal by implementing the space was to combat struggles that come with operating these businesses. And the use of shared rent in the space is also to help maintain their foothold in San Francisco.
Brian passed out the infographic, and basically it's just informing you guys on what we just talked about now. From the past, Fillmore was home to 30 jazz clubs, and then within the present, Black people make up 10% of the Fillmore district. And we're going to work with the Dream Keeper Foundation for our project.
Overall, we're very thankful to have gotten to look into the Fillmore history and the Black community that once was, and we're hopeful for the restoration given all of the efforts being done by the city, and not only just the city but the community. So we hope to be a part of the change that we wish to see.
Another person blessed, that's what we do, continue to bless the people.